For over half a century, humans have endeavored to make business a force for good. But is the movement working? Or is it time to explore a new path forward? Welcome to Less Talk, More Action. We are your hosts, Joel Caesar and Owen Barrett, experts in clean energy, net zero real estate, decarbonization, and entrepreneurship. In each episode, we ask provocative questions and share stories from the front lines of sustainability with leaders in science, tech, and business, taking real action to design a cleaner, better future. Thanks for joining the conversation. Now, let's get to work. Welcome to the Less Talk, More Action podcast. My name is Joel Caesar, the world's undisputed voice of building decarbonization. Joining me as always is Owen Barrett, the self-proclaimed world's greatest expert on solar. Today's guest, Norman Crowley, the founder of CoolPlanet, a global leader in industrial decarbonization, a serial entrepreneur, founded and scaled several businesses across tech, media, energy. So, what a cool guy. Straight shooter, crazy background. He's built gaming companies, media companies, and now he's saving the planet with technology and working with some of the biggest emitters in the world. And man, I loved him. I know you did. What'd you think?
Yeah, he's one of my favorite guests. I love how casually he'll say like, yeah, I was working on this project and saved this company $50 million in the first 3 months. Like, I said that like multiple times.
Yeah,
like, man.
He goes in and says, well, how do you start the conversation? I'm going to save you a shitload of money. That's the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think like next level real talk for this one. And I think any aspiring entrepreneurs, this is a good one for them.
Yeah, and one of your other favorite notes he made about how he doesn't sell to like heads of sustainability. He only sells to the CEO.
Yeah. I mean, they're selling to the CEO or I'm not selling to you.
Well, we look forward to you all listening. But before we jump in with Norman, let's do a quick bit we're calling bold predictions for the future. So you and I are gamblers. We love the All In podcast and the way they use Polymarket to kind of like set their predictions of the future and see how it plays out. So you got to state your case. As I know you're always talking, we got to be less timid. So I'll start. I'm going to say something I said recently on LinkedIn, but for those who only listen to the podcast, my prediction, by 2030, net zero commitments will be replaced by energy affordability commitments. So I'm going to pat myself on the back. I was on this trend a couple years ago, even when I was in the world of hyperscaler decarbonization, net zero targets. I remember being like, this carbon removal crap and the carbon accounting, like, this is going to go away at some point. And you're starting to see it, especially now with the AI rollout and how the public might be turning already against the hyperscaler movement and what it's going to do to electricity affordability in the markets where they're trying to build data centers. So yeah, I would put my money behind this, especially for the hyperscalers. By 2030, these net zero commitments are going to be, if not replaced, deprioritized by their efforts to try to bring affordability to markets where they operate.
Do you think they're going to tie RECs and carbon offsets to these projects, or they're not? They're going to leave that all together.
That's a good question, because as I say this out loud, if they're going to be making like commitments that are called energy affordability, they'll probably have to have some metrics, like some tracking system that demonstrates through data that they're doing what they say they're doing. So I don't know if it's RECs or whatever, but point being, like, in this post, I was reposting Shanu Matthew, who he's a friend of the pod. He's been on the podcast before. He's a great follow on X or Twitter, always talking about like real energy talk, especially from market-based operators. But he talked about how this Google data center in West Memphis, and it's got some crazy energy footprint, but part of the deal with probably whoever the market was to entitle that project was a $25 million energy affordability fund. Now that's like peanuts in terms of a $4 billion data center, but I think the signal there is that 25 million eventually will be more substantial.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a good prediction. I think
All right, so what do you got?
My prediction, I say there is no such thing as an ESG department by 2030.
Ooh.
So I don't think the work that's being done is gone, or at least I hope it's not. But I do think that the departments themselves are going to be absorbed into other more meaningful departments. For example, a lot of times in real estate, we talk to, like today I had a conversation with someone who's in charge of ESG, but she's also like a SVP of asset management.
Yeah.
I think that's just it's a more effective way to go. Like ESG doesn't really have any power because they don't necessarily know how to position projects the right way. But I think if you can frame an ESG project as like a revenue generator or an expense saver, then you have a lot of leverage within an organization, and that should be held within a different division of organizations.
Yeah. Well, I maybe even push back on something you just said about like you said like the things they do will go away, and you said I hope they don't. I think a lot of what they do should go away. A lot of
Well,
the
I hope the E doesn't go away. I'm okay
yeah
with S and the G.
yeah, or even within the E, like the stuff we talk about all the time, the fluff and the reporting and the accounting part of the E.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah, yeah.
unnecessary at this point.
Just stick to projects that make financial sense. And I know people are going to have a hard time with that, but like I think we need to regroup and reorganize. We need to sort of like level set our new foundation of what it means to be ESG friendly or whatever the term is, and like let's go back to the business case. Let's get some credibility there, and then let's expand. But I think we started to go a little bit crazy in these directions that just didn't really add value to organizations, and now the like energy is getting sucked into the backlash against ESG, and in my mind it shouldn't.
Well, it's a great segue to our guest, Norman Crowley. So let's jump into that conversation. Joining us today is Norman Crowley, founder of CoolPlanet and a serial entrepreneur with an impressive track record of building and scaling successful businesses. Norman has founded and sold multiple companies worth over $750 million, including Inspired Gaming Group, Europe's largest gaming technology company, and The Cloud, Europe's largest Wi-Fi operator, which was acquired by BSkyB. Today, through CoolPlanet, he's tackling one of the greatest challenges of our time, climate change, by delivering cutting-edge decarbonization solutions that help some of the world's largest companies dramatically reduce their emissions while improving performance. So, Norman, welcome to the Less Talk, More Action podcast.
Yeah, good to be here.
Well, Norman, you seem like a guy who likes to get right to work, as do we. So we start all our guests with the same question. How are you taking action to make the world a better place?
Well, I guess our day job is kind of obvious in that CoolPlanet. For about 15 years, we've been working on decarbonization with some of the biggest carbon emitters in the world. Our largest client emits more carbon than Holland, and we have all the European set. So we've got Poland, France, all that. So we've been doing that for quite a while now, and the impacts are quite chunky at this point. Yeah. So our largest client at the moment, we're saving them $250 million annually. Yeah. So real
That
impact.
sounds like
Wow.
Yeah.
that sounds like action, I guess, right, Owen?
Yeah, that's a little
Yeah,
bit
I guess I win the prize on that one.
Yeah, that might be the best first answer we've gotten yet.
I think sometimes I'm guilty of just getting right into the weeds. So, I mean, can you tell us a little bit more about CoolPlanet and how are you and it saving that amount of money? Or saving entities
so-
that amount of money?
Yeah, so CoolPlanet now operates in 23 countries. We're focused on industrial now. We still have some commercial real estate, maybe a couple of thousand buildings, but really it's industrial. And in sectors could be anything from cement all the way through to glass, food. And what we do, we have this thing now that probably needs a better branding. It's called multi-pillar. So multi-pillar is basically 4 pillars that we use to engage with industrials. And while we talk about carbon, our main approach is to say, we're just going to suck a shitload of cost out of your business very quickly. And that tends to be a very attractive proposition. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
And I can bore you with the 4 pillars, but back to you for the next one. Yeah.
I would say there's lots of questions I'm going to ask here, but I've actually loved to. Let's dive in. 4 pillars. Tell us what it does. How does it work?
Yeah. So when you approach any industrial or commercial real estate business talking about decarbonization or saving them money, the first thing is they don't believe you. And they don't believe you quite rightly because there's just so much bullshit in the space. And so what we do first is we save them a boatload of money very quickly. So the first thing we do is we have a software platform. It's been going since 2015 and it plugs into all their significant energy users. And then what we do is we use AI and machine learning to highlight to them how much money they're losing on a daily basis. And we call that operational drift reporting. So, operational drift is you have a machine, it should be using X, but it's actually using 2X. And then we send in a note saying, this is a machine in one of your factories. This is how much money it's losing you. And this is how much it lost on the last shift, right? Normally, operational drift reporting is stuff they can do that doesn't cost them any money. Just adjust it back to the way it was, and you're good. And so, a typical client that would save them annually 50 to $100 million a year. So that normally gets their attention, basically. And so that's pillar one. Pillar two is what we call packs. And packs are things they have to spend money on, but not much money. So they might have to replace a filter, or they might have to do something that just costs a little bit of money, and then that will save them more money. And we normally finance that for them. Then the third pillar is called COIN. COIN stands for cost of inaction. And that's bigger things. So that could be a couple of $100 million on something like replacing all of their compressed air systems, replacing a furnace or something like that. And we'll do a whole bunch of like off balance sheet financing so that they can get the money to do that without using their own money or borrowing more money. And we have relationships with a lot of big banks like Apollo, a whole bunch of infra funds, and they provide the financing to do that. And then pillar four is what's called flex. And put simply, that's everything to do with energy costs. So it could be that they're not trading their energy properly. It could be that we deploy battery, solar. In the US, we have a partnership with Leap, so we could dispatch a whole lot of their assets into the market and save them money like that. So the first three are kind of like efficiency and stopping stupid shit from happening. And then pillar four is like energy trading, solar, battery, that type of thing.
I like this business model. I like it because you're stopping people from doing stupid shit and you're delivering a lot of value quickly. So you get buy-in probably from like every level of leadership that you need.
Well, you don't. Sadly, you don't. So another new rule that we've learned in the last couple of years, which was a great unlock, is in the beginning, we only speak to the chief exec. Yeah. So, and because what we find is it's really embarrassing if the first operational drift report comes up and it shows you that your plant in Brazil has been losing $10 million a year, right? Because if you're senior, that's really embarrassing, right? Because surely somebody should have stopped that from happening. And so there can be quite a lot of embarrassment, a lot of blocking. And then also, if we come into your business and can save you that much money, there's a tendency to cover it up, slow it down. Or like one of the things that used to happen is people would say, well, my target's only 2% a year and you can give me 40% a year. So let's just do 2% a year for 10 years, right? And
what a stupid attitude.
Yeah.
Stupid attitude.
Come on.
Yeah. So the chief exec sometimes, because the chief exec sometimes has that attitude too, but most of the time the chief exec is motivated to get the savings as fast as humanly possible. And so that was one of the biggest unlocks, actually, was not to deal with people who would block it or slow it down, and just deal with people who just want to get on with it. And we had some rock star chief execs in the first couple of times we did that, and they just blew through all of the bullshit and really fast track change. And that was a big unlock, basically. Yeah.
It's interesting, Joel. I don't want to hijack the whole conversation, but Joel and I talk a lot about how oftentimes it's the ESG departments that slow down the ESG projects.
I was gonna go right here too. Yeah,
sounds like you're echoing the same sentiment, which is yes, maybe it's technically an ESG project, but we just want to go above that, so we don't get caught in
Yeah.
the carbon counting bullshit or whatever it may be, and we
Yeah.
just go right to the decision
This
maker.
this
to
isn't
the
in,
top
this isn't
dollars.
in, this sounds really cool, guys, but this isn't in my ESG roadmap for 2026. So we're gonna
Yeah.
have to punt
Yeah.
it. And we're like, well,
Yeah.
I might save you $50 million. Like, I don't. Too bad. I'm
Yeah.
busy on my ESG report.
Yeah.
So Norman, that's
Also,
why
ESG,
you don't.
ESG, by the way,
Yeah, you go.
they have no power, right? They have no
Yeah.
power. They have no budget, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you want to get stuff done, you need to find out who's got the power. And the people who've got the power are the people that control all the big budgets in the industrials, and that's not ESG. Yeah.
So like if this will be the last part of this specific line of questioning, but so like if you get introduced to a client that could be a target for you, and someone says, "Oh, I'm going to have you talk to our head of ESG," you say, "No, I only talk to the CEO."
No.
Wow.
Well, we select our clients now, not the other way around. So we're looking for clients with minimum north of $100 million energy spend. And ideally, like our largest client has just under a $4 billion spend. And so a lot of our new
Wow.
clients, yeah, are up at that level basically. Because if you do the math on a $4 billion spend, so they're public, um, we can take a billion out over 3 years, right? A billion annually out. They're normally trading at about 8 times EBITDA. So that's 8 billion on the market cap. So
Yeah.
so they'll talk to you all day long. Yeah.
Oh, and you got it. So Norman, I don't know much you know about the two of us. Owen sells. He runs a company that does solar for multifamily. I work for a company that uses AI to help commercial real estate save energy. So we're, as we're alluding to here, accustomed to these conversations, these sales processes. But Owen, I think you got to steal his intro. What he said. What did you say, Norman? I come in and say I'm going to save you a shitload of money quickly. That's what
The
you need to
problem
lead
with
with.
ours is we're not. Nothing about solar is fast. We can save you a shitload of money. It's not fast, but I might take a cue from Norman and just stop talking to ESG teams.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. We don't
Yeah.
work with you.
Sorry,
Yeah.
ESG teams. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
talk to your boss.
Yeah.
Well, Norman,
Well, yeah. I'm
well,
just,
no, you go,
guys, I'm
you go ahead.
55. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I'm 55, so I'm getting old. And so I've wasted 15 years in talking to the wrong people. So I guess now we're in a hurry for climate reasons, for money reasons. So let's just move quickly and yeah, and get it done, you know.
Well, we appreciate that guidance, and that's why we are doing this podcast, to get insights from folks like yourself to teach us not to waste 15 years talking to the wrong people, and hope people that are watching this. And I would say you were introduced to me by a friend of the podcast, a guy we both know well, and who likes to speak this kind of no bullshit language. So I can see why I introduced you to us. We're happy to have you on, and I'm going to segue now because you just mentioned climate, and Owen and I like to bounce around, so bear with us, but I'm kind of interested in that intro we read about you, about your journey here. So, a gaming company, a Wi-Fi company, now climate. So, like, what happened? Why climate? Why this?
So I have that classic entrepreneur story. Left school when I was 16, grew up on a farm. My dad taught me how to weld when I was 13, set up a welding company, left school, sold that business, set up a tech company quite early in the internet boom, sold that in 99, then set up a gaming tech company, sold that in 2008. And then during the 2000s, I saw an inconvenient truth. And my kids were young at the time, and I just couldn't get it out of my head. And so when we sold the cloud in 2011, I didn't want to do another thing that was just buying something for a buck and selling it for two. I wanted to do something with impact. And now CoolPlanet's about 20 different companies, and they all have something to do with impact. CoolPlanet's the biggest, and it's to do with climate. But we also now have a company called Unlimited that works with humans who are dopamine addicted, can't find their way in the world, and
So
figuring
everybody.
out, giving them, yeah, yeah. Well, it's a large TAM, right? um, yeah, and so it works with people to give them focus and direction and meaning. So yeah, so like any entrepreneur, we encounter a problem, and then we can't but try to fix it basically. And climate's still the biggest one, but we have a no bullshit approach to even that. Like, when something like Trump gets elected, we don't jump off the cliff and say the world is over. We just look at what situations are there, what the opportunities are, how can we move faster, right? And how can we work with government to make that happen, right? And that's what you need to do. Yeah.
Norman, we have a lot of young listeners, aspiring entrepreneurs. I know you mentioned you're 50, and I think this transition happened when you were 16. But how did you go from welding to tech, or to tech entrepreneur? Like, what was that transition like?
Any transition, because similarly, we were in tech, but we weren't in climate tech, and also we didn't know what equipment was in factories. So anytime, and now with Unlimited, we don't know about psychology. So part of the joy of being an entrepreneur is learning new stuff, right? You get very staid if you're just learning, if you're just doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
And so, but part of it is joy, so you get to learn a lot when you move to a new sector. But part of it is scary too, right? You have to walk into the first sales call, and the sooner you do this, the better. And when you go into the first sales call with the new business, you don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about, right? So you got to be comfortable. It's a cool phrase, but it's very true. You got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I remember when we were building CoolPlanet, and we built it in Northern Europe, so we were very good at heating things, right? Because you need to heat lots of things in factories and in buildings in Northern Europe. But then we started marketing in Dubai, right? So I remember the first day of sales calls in Dubai, the PowerPoint was all, hey, we're really good at heating shit. Like, let me talk to you about heating things. And clients down there were like, it's so hot down here, we have to cool our swimming pools, right? And by the last call, the last sales call of the first day, all the slides were talking about cooling stuff and cooling, cooling, cooling. And so, but that's scary to have to do that, but it's also really cool. And you have to just get used to that. And there's, like I say, there's a lot of joy in learning new stuff. Yeah.
So you're in your current endeavor, CoolPlanet. Seems like you're doing really well. Is it global? What's the vision? How long are you going to work on this?
So it's in 23 countries. So we're everywhere: US, Canada, South America, Brazil, etc., Australia. We have an office in Sydney. We've got about 20 people there. So it's global at this point. It's private. We don't have any aspirations to go public. It's profitable. So I'm chairman now, so got a brilliant CEO and a brilliant exec team. So we're just going to keep doing that. We have a long way to go, because we must be slow learners, because it's taken us a while to crack the code of this. And, in talking to you, like, this is a difficult road, right? ESG, even if you think, you get very good at something like ESG, and then all the laws change and ESG is not happening anymore, so you got to move again. So it's been a real roller coaster, but we think we've cracked the code at this point, and so we just want to keep growing that. And then also we create other businesses around it. So we weren't in battery and solar, and now we're in battery and solar. We didn't know anything about energy trading. Now we work with the biggest energy traders in the world. So you keep expanding it. And no, I don't want to retire. I have a team, so that allows me to play a little bit more than I used to play. But I've sold businesses, like my bio says. By the time I was 40, I'd sold lots of businesses. So, and what you realize when you sell a business is that the fun stops, right? And so when you're building a business, there's quite a lot of pain. And so the reason people sell businesses is because they want the pain to stop, right? But actually, when you sell the business, the pain stops, but also the fun stops, right? And so the better thing to do is to figure out how to enjoy the pain. I love, Elon Musk said, running a startup is like chewing glass while looking over the abyss. And that's just so true, right? But actually, you have to learn to enjoy chewing glass while you're looking over the abyss, right?
I had a day. I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years, and I had a day the other day that made me rethink everything I was doing. I'm like, what the fuck am I? Why am I doing this? Like, let me just go get a
Yeah,
W-2 job and go on cruise control for a while.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you're not chewing.
That's
You're not getting used to chewing glass, Owen.
I think I chewed too much glass that day. I needed a little
Well, that's why.
break.
Yeah, it's
and
good.
by the
It's good
way,
to meet someone like Norman and get inspired about how you got to enjoy the chewing
yeah.
of glass.
And people
Yeah,
look
I
at
mean,
me and
yeah.
my bio, and they say like, he doesn't have days like that. You're just describing Tuesday to me. Like we have days like that. Like my CEO will call up and he'll just go, "You're not going to believe what just happened," right? Or the CFO will call and say, "This is happening." So the key is to get to like that and figure out, what a lot of entrepreneurs miss is figure out a way of making that fun, right? Making that pain in the ass day fun, because every day, regardless of what you do in life, if you sell a business and make money, you'll go back in again and you'll still have days like that. So figure out ways to make that tolerable and fun. And it's not going to be fully fun, but figure out ways that that day is okay too. Yeah.
Well, I'm not like you guys right now. I don't run a business, but I'm at a startup and very much in a messy part of this company's growth. But it's very exciting and fun. And I would say, Norman, I left. I've worked for a bunch of big companies. I worked for Google most recently, and I made a very intentional decision. I was like, okay, this was fun. And I've worked at big companies, and that's been okay. But like, I just didn't feel the right. It wasn't inspiring me anymore. I was getting annoyed by the pace and some of the politics. And I was like, all right, I'm going startup. I'm just going all in. And I've had a couple startup attempts where I was the founder that didn't go well. So I've experienced that. One of them with Owen. But I say that because I try to remind myself all the time right now when I have days when I'm like, boy, man, why did I join this startup? My life was so easy at Google. But then it's like, well, you chose this. I think this is my conversation with myself. Like, you wanted this, so lean into it, enjoy it, because there's a reason you made this decision. And I think we all have to remind ourselves, if this is like in your own like personality, that that you have to learn to find joy in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have a phrase, remove barriers to joy, right? So if there's somebody in the organization who's being a pain in the ass, that's okay one day. But if it's day 17 and they're still a pain in the ass, maybe it's time to have a different conversation, right? Remove barriers to joy. If there's a client, and this takes courage, but if there's a client who's consistently jerking you around, maybe it's time they left, right? And you have agency. It doesn't feel like you have agency sometimes, but you have agency. And the happier you get is when you take agency and you do the brave thing, which might be firing a client. I met a client last Saturday and he said, "Isn't it great that we got there on the deal?" And I said to him, "You have no idea how close we were to firing you, right? Like we discussed it 3 or 4 times, right?" And
What was
I
their
said to
What was
him,
their
"Hey,"
response?
he was shocked. And I said, "Just watch it the next time, right? Because we have zero sense of humor about this kind of thing now. It's not like it was before, because they're not used to being spoken like that, but they enjoy it because it's the truth, and you're not
Yeah,
bullshitting them. You're telling them as it is, right? And
yeah,
it, you, it's brilliant too because your sales guys see you doing that, and then they get the courage to do the same thing, right? And you're not being a dick. You're telling them the truth, right? Which is your behavior is not appropriate right now, so change it, right? And like senior people that you're talking to respect that. Middle management, um, they can be a pain in the ass and time consuming people. And we call that as it is now because you have to. Because listen, the world is heating up, right? And that hasn't changed. And so let's just get on with this.
Oh, and when are you going to fire one of your clients?
I mean, my head is spinning right now with how many people we could fire, how many clients we could not necessarily customers, but how many like potential customers just jerk us around forever, doing site visits, reviewing contracts, and it's just like, all right, guys, come on. But I mean, we haven't done it. I don't think we're at necessarily, Norman, my company. I've been doing solar for a long time, but this company is relatively new since 2023, so we're still sort of in like early traction mode. So I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's harder to fire people early on, although maybe it's the smarter thing to do because then you
It's the
spend less
smarter thing
time
to do.
spinning. Yeah.
And you develop that culture, I guess,
Because
right?
yeah, you feel like you couldn't possibly, but actually, when you look at the situation and look at what would happen, give it a go, right? Pick the one that's the biggest pain in the ass, spending the least amount of money tomorrow morning, find the most senior person in there, and just say, this isn't working anymore. And in order for it to work for us, we need this kind of behavior. You see, what's actually happening a lot of the time is they have no intention of buying off you. Or if they're going to buy off you, they're going to buy some small shit that means that they're not taking any risk. And then they're going to jerk you around for that for ages, right? And so, and it doesn't matter whether you're in year 1 or year 15, like we are, it's the same result. What I find with our sales team is one of the hardest things to do is to get them to have courage and for them to talk to the boss. They're not used to talking to chief executives and they're kind of afraid of it or they haven't experienced it enough. But if they talk to them, they realize they're just human too. Okay.
Yeah.
And then work from there, right? And then so yeah, I don't think it's a time in the market thing. I think it's you might as well do it now. And also the younger you do it, like I regret not doing it earlier in my life, to be honest. The amount of shit I listened to from clients, and then it got us nowhere, you know. It's better. Our main clients are our friends. In fact, one of our investors said recently, we're a little bit worried that your clients are your friends. And I was like, if they weren't my friends, you should be a lot more worried, right? But
Yeah.
they weren't my friends when we got to know each other until we got to know each other. But now they're our friends, and that's a very deep relationship. We look after them, right? And
Yeah.
it's not about money, it's about looking after them, and then the money flows. And all this time that, especially the last 10 years in business, we've got to this thing about, well, it all has to be arm's length, right? And we can't know our clients that well. And it's all tendered and like it's such a load of bullshit. You think about how long people have been doing business with each other, thousands of years of trading deer skins and all this kind of stuff. And we got to know each other, right? And what the fuck is this thing we're all talking about now where it's all arm's length and I'll have to bring that up the food chain? What a lot of crap, right? Let's go back
Well,
to the way
also,
it used to be. Yeah.
Totally
Yeah,
agree.
I find
Yeah.
so much that life now is so it like revolves around setting up meetings and meetings have a million different people and it's impossible to make a fucking decision when you have a meeting with 20
Yeah.
people. It's like if you're buddies with the VP of ESG and you could just text him. I had this happen yesterday. We're waiting on signing an agreement for one of our solar projects and it was like bouncing around the organization and then finally I just texted the guy and it was signed. And it was like, all right, like
Yeah.
it just should have started
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah.
It just makes it easier and it
Yeah.
makes it more fun to work with these people because you're getting to action faster rather than just like
Exactly.
seeing what's going to happen next or who's going to drop the ball.
Yeah. And we, in the 2020s, in the early 2020s, we wasted millions and millions of dollars. We had a huge marketing team. We had HubSpot. We had all this fancy reporting and sales motion and all this fucking bullshit. And none of it worked, right?
Oh
It's
man, I
like,
love this.
just
I love
talk.
this guy.
Yeah. Just talk to the fucking guy or gal, figure out what it is they're doing. Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? Are they pissed off with something? And just understand what's going on and then get them to tell you no or yes, right? And like we had one recently with a client who's got an energy spend of $2 billion. And I just said to the executive in the end, is saving $500 million important to you, right? And he said, no, it's not, right? And I was like, brilliant, right? Yeah, but
Now
true,
we know.
right? Because hey, if you've got a high margin pharmaceutical business, maybe that's not the most important thing for you, right? Life is good, you're making money, right? But if you're a food company or a cement company, then that means the world to you, right? And so it's better to get to know fast so that you can move on to the next one. Yeah.
Man, I feel like this is like an entrepreneurship coaching session.
It really
Sweet
is.
Thank you, Norman.
Totally. This is all gold stuff.
Send me your
Norman.
Venmo after the podcast.
Well, and Norman,
We're
so
in Europe, so we have Revolut.
I'm on a sales organization now. It's the first time in my career. It's been like the main focus of my job. And I came into this and I think give credit to my founders. Like they saw this in me. I said, look, I know who we're selling to in commercial real estate, and I've been in those shoes. And this is very much going to be relationships. This is very much going to be trust. This is very much got to be patient. And like let's not fall into the trap like you're describing, like, oh, well, at this stage of your company, your Series A startup, like you got to get HubSpot and you got to have these motions, you got to have automations. Like, is that actually going to help you sell your product, or is it going to be getting face to face and developing relationships, right?
Yeah, yeah. And maybe if you're selling paper clips, it's great to have a sales team and HubSpot and all that. In our business, like we have grown-ups who have grown-up conversations with other grown-ups, right? And we can track the whole thing on a spreadsheet, right? We don't need all this complex wordplay, right? It's just keep it simple. And even our mutual friend, right? That client owns a shitload of real estate, right? But the amount of fucking around that client does around saving money and the amount of people involved, it's just way too many. Like, it's like, let's just have a serious conversation. How much money do you want to save in these buildings? One of the biggest challenges in commercial real estate and saving money is which facilities management company are you working with? Because you can have amazing AI software and you can save them loads of money. And then the facilities management company will adjust all that shit all wrong and you're going to lose all your savings. So there's this structure that needs to be in place. And the only person normally who can put that structure in place is the CEO. Yeah. And that's why after years and years of pain, we just said, very simple, let's just talk to their boss. Yeah.
Did you have pushback there ever, like at the beginning when you adopted this mentality of
all the time,
we're just going to talk to the CEO, and you just let those clients go? You're just like, well, they're not for us.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. We had a hilarious one the other day. We're quite a big food company. We got introduced to the chief exec through a mutual friend. And then he sent an email and I replied to his email and I just said, hey, I'm delighted to meet you. I can't wait to see you and talk about what you might need. But this is my last email to you. So if you don't email me back, then I'm going to take it that energy saving isn't your number one thing. Also, I checked our systems and your head of energy is useless, right? So I don't want him at the meeting.
Oh, I love that. I would love to use that tactic too.
Yeah.
But because I know that sounds like I'm a cocky prick, right? But think about what's going to happen there if the head of energy is at that meeting, right? We're going to go in and say, we can save you 30-40%. After the meeting, the head of energy is just going to whisper in his ear and go, that's not going to happen. We tried this before. That thing he said, we tried. I don't want to have that. That's just a waste of a meeting for me. I want a meeting with the chief exec where I'm going to say, this is happening here in your organization. This is what you need to bypass it, right?
That's so analogous to the ESG head. Yeah, just like you said.
It's so interesting because
completely.
you think they would be supportive. Like it's in their best interest. It's what they're in charge of.
But it's not. It's them protecting their ass. And that's what happens at big companies. Everyone's just covering their own ass.
Completely.
That's true. I can't tell you how many sales calls I have with multifamily groups where someone has had solar installed on their house, and that makes them an expert of all things solar. And it's like, I wish I would take a cue from your book and just kick them out of the meeting or say, like, we don't need you in this. Like, getting solar installed on your house does not make you an expert in the realm.
No. And there are so many things like that, batteries like that. Like we do big, like 5 megawatt, 10 megawatt batteries, and people just think they know batteries because they've got fucking Duracell, right? Like it's all that, you know. So it is. It all goes back to. It's very different if we're selling like an ERP system, right? But we're selling hundreds of millions of dollars of savings or tens of $1 million of savings. Do you want them, right? You, it's perfect for you to say, I don't believe you, okay? In which case, we just turn around and say, we have two competitors of yours. Would you like to talk to their chief executives, right? So that's okay. Now, do you believe me? Okay. Now that you believe me, what are we doing now? Are we dancing or fucking around? Yeah.
That might be the title of this episode, Norman, if that's okay with you.
Perfect.
Well, Norman, we're getting to time here. This has been fascinating. I think Owen and I, when we run these episodes, sometimes it gets very wonky into the tech, or sometimes it gets wonky into the climate movement. Sometimes it gets more wonky, not wonky. Sometimes it gets into these entrepreneurial journey discussions. And this one was very, I think, not just fun to hear about your journey, but I think very educational. Like, I'm going to celebrate the hell out of this to young entrepreneurs when we post it. But all that to be said, we got to wrap up, I think, here. And this might be a good way to come back to climate and inconvenient truth. And, we always end our episodes with the same question. I think this would be perfect for you and where you are. Now, you've been kind of new to the climate movement with this recent endeavor, and you're doing incredible work to have impact. But as we know, there's a lot of pessimism and negative news about the state of the environment. So we like to end on a positive note. Norman, what gives you hope for the future?
I think there's a long list, actually. Controversially for a lot of people, I love Elon Musk. I just think people who defy the market and gravity, they inspire the shit out of me, right? And it's people like that give me hope. Whether it's a 19-year-old listening to this podcast or a 70-year-old listening to this podcast, the key to hope is just get out of fucking bed in the morning and go after it. Yeah. And there's enough people doing that in the world, that they all give me hope. God bless them.
I don't think anything to add on that, Owen, right? Feel good about
No,
that
we're big
answer?
fans of Elon too, and I feel
we
like
are.
it gets us in trouble sometimes.
Yeah, it does. But
I'm very vocal in my support for him, and I enjoy arguing with people who don't.
Yeah.
I've had a Tesla since 2015, and now I see Teslas with those stickers that say, I bought this before
I hate those
Elon went
fucking
crazy."
stickers.
I want a sticker that says,
Yeah.
I bought this after Elon went
Or the
crazy.
anti-Elon Tesla Club stickers. Yeah. It's like that really shows people who their cards. Like, if you say you care about climate, like that's something you're like publicly, that's part of your persona. But then you're that anti-Elon Musk, then you're not a serious person to me. It's like, who's done more?
You're not a serious person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also it tells me more about what you're watching and reading, and that you're not checking your facts. That's okay too. We gotta love everybody, right? But that's not the way we like to operate. Yeah.
Another good note to end on. Well, Norman, thank you so much for joining us. We know it's late over there in Europe. Very cool company you're working on. I'm really grateful we got introduced. We'll be out there rooting for you. Sounds like I think I know your answer to this question. Like, is there anything you want to plug here? Can we help point people to your website, follow you on social media, or you're just like, unless you're the CEO, don't.
Unless you're the CEO.
Unless you're the CEO, don't call me.
Our website is CoolPlanet.io. It's a bit shit. We're working on it. But it'll give you all the contacts. And if you Google me, you'll find all the usual Twitter, LinkedIn stuff. Yeah.
Well, Norman, thanks so much for joining the show. Owen, thank you as always. Thank you to our audience for joining. You can also find Owen and I on LinkedIn, usually actively antagonizing the more talk, more complaining sustainability nerds. You can find this podcast and more great content at lesstalkmoreaction.com. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, like, and share with your friends. And until next time, we encourage you to ask yourself, what are you doing to take action to make the world a better place?